Hey guys, how's it going? Kevin Cleary here with a knife video for you. Today I've got two really cool knives to show you. I want to do a comparison of these two because there's a lot of similarities. There are some differences, and we'll touch on that as well. But before I get to that, I just want to apologize for the lack of content lately. Many of you will know I'm a minister, and there's been a bunch of work related to that, as well as some other things going on. So because of all that, I just haven't had the time and energy to put into knife reviews. More the energy, when you're reading for hours and hours every day and taking notes and preparing, research documents. It's pretty onerous on the brain, and I just find myself I don't have the mental energy to get knife videos out. So that's my apology. I'll thank you for sticking with me. I've still got lots of views. I've still, had guys talking about knives and sharing cool things with me. So, hey, that's great. I appreciate all of that. Let's go ahead and take a look at these two knives. And I want to start by telling you why I am doing this comparison. So we have here the Kaiser Escort. This is the new version of the Kaiser Escort. There was a titanium frame lock a number of years ago. This is an absolutely superb knife. And the big story on this is the action and, in fact, even the innovation that they've done with the axis lock. Now, the other knife that we've got here is the 80-20.5. Again, a great action on this knife. One of those knives. So here's what initiated this video. I found myself wandering around the house. I would pick one of these knives up and walk with it around the house as I was thinking about things or working on things, or while I was reading, I'd be flicking one or both of these. And it was really a toss up which one I would grab at any given time. Sometimes I'd pick up the 80-20.5 and, absolutely enjoy it. Other times I'd pick up the Kaiser and the same thing, just absolutely enjoy just fidgeting with this knife for prolonged periods. So that got me to thinking, which one is better? Which one do I like the most? And which one should others look to if they want the knife that just maxes out the fidget factor, that has the most enjoyable, fun, easy, quick, smooth action that you can get for, a very affordable, I guess somewhat affordable is more accurate to say, price point. That price point, by the way, on both of these, the 80-20.5 is going to be $149 at White Mountain Knives. They are available now. Kaiser Escort is $171 on White Mountain Knives. Both of these were in stock when I looked, so go ahead and pick one up if you want one. Use the discount code SHARPSTUFF, and that will save you 10% off. So I've looked around. Both of these are pretty well standard price everywhere, but by using that discount code, you can save yourself a small percentage. 10% is maybe even not that small. All right. So the first point of comparison, and probably the main point of comparison, is the innovative and unique locking system that both of these have. Obviously not the same, but very fidget friendly and a very, well thought out method of lockup and deployment. So we'll get to that, and that's where we're going to probably spend the most of our time. I should also point out, though, that these are similar in size and even in roll, sort of. We'll approach that. I think both of these are pretty solidly EDC. The blade stock is going to be a little thicker and chunkier on the 80-20 if that's something you really want. So the Kaiser Escort here is 7 3/4 inches. It's just a hair over 7 3/4, like not even a 32nd over, but it's right in that ballpark. The 80-20.5 is again 7 3/4, but instead of a hair bigger, it's actually just a hair under that. So very close in size. Both of these are actually on the small side for me, but I find myself kind of enjoying both. We'll talk about that when we get to ergonomics and comparing the ergonomics on these two. The blade length on these is again very similar. Both basically 3 1/4, with the 80-20.5 being just under 3 1/4 and the Escort being just over. In terms of size in pocket, both of these are 4 inches when closed, and the Escort weighs 4.2 ounces, while the 80-20.5 weighs a rather svelte 3.5 ounces. All right, so Both are fairly easy to carry. The Escort does have a little extra weight, and you can see there's full steel liners there. So if they went without those and just went with the solid aluminum, they might have actually come a little even closer than that. As it stands, both completely comfortable to carry. I've carried both of these in, like track pants and stuff like that. Both work just fine. Obviously, the 80/20.5 is a little bit lighter, a little bit thinner, so making it just a little more comfortable to carry. All right, let's now get to I guess actually there's one more thing that I want to point out as a difference. All right, what is the selling this the main selling point on these two knives is a little bit different. Okay, being from Kaiser, what the Escort has going for it is a really, really well done fit and finish, really nice materials, and just an overall clean look and feel that I find very, very appealing. Okay, so for 170 bucks, Kaiser is delivering a really, really well finished, high polished knife that is certainly up to the price point that they're demanding for it. The 80/20.5, what it has going for it is, of course, the very innovative, cool, and unique Shark Lock, and of course that it is an Andrew Demko knife. So you're paying for the Demko name and that proprietary lock here. Over here, you're paying more for materials and fit and finish. So depending on which one of those you prioritize in your collecting and which one is more desirable for you is obviously going to play a fairly big role in your decision. All right. Um, for me, though, what I want to focus on and what I find really, really interesting about these two knives is the action on both is so mind-blowingly good. I mean, they're just every time I pick them up, I find myself just fidgeting with these knives. It's totally addictive. All right, many of you are familiar with the Shark Lock. It works similar to a bar lock in that um, this piece of metal here at the back slides up. You can see the blade tang there. Watch as I close it. Boom, it slides up into place, and that's what causes the knife to stay closed. All right, and then we've got this shark fin here that allows me to open the knife. All right, very fidgety. The geometry on the interface and on how the blade drops and all of that is very, very well done. Okay, so that's the Shark Lock. Inside of this, you can't see it from in here. I'll give you a quick look. So notice inside here, you can't see the spring, but in this, what essentially is an extended long bar, okay, there's a coil spring, and you're compressing that coil spring by pushing down here, and that's what allows the knife to drop open, or I mean drop closed, or of course releases the tension to allow it to open, and that also, by the way, creates the detent. Okay, moving over to the Kaiser, we have a fairly typical axis lock with Omega springs. However, there are a couple of things that are done differently here. If you look, here's my flashlight. I put one down just for this reason, guys, and I don't know what I've done with it. You may have to take my word for it. Did it fall on the floor? Well, guys, I don't know how I did it, but I lost the flashlight that I put down here 2 seconds ago just for this reason. So we're going to go without it. I think if you look very carefully, let's see how close we can get. There we go. I think right in there you can probably see. But if you know how an Omega spring works, part of the spring is wrapped around this bar. The spring loops down like the Greek letter omega and pops into a hole in the frame here. Well, what they've done on this knife is they've actually drilled multiple holes in the frame. So you can move that spring, thereby increasing or decreasing the tension as desired. Now, I've also heard, I haven't checked this, and I will for the full review on this knife, but I've also heard that they include a second Omega spring, or that one of the Omega springs they include is of a heavier gauge, so that also allows you further variance. Even if that's not the case, if those omega springs are simply replacement omega springs, okay, that's still a huge win. All right. And so what Kaiser has done here is they've taken a really well-known, well-loved, highly effective lock. They call it the clutch lock on the Kaisers, but it's the axis lock, and they've just slightly tweaked it to make an improvement. And it is an improvement. The other thing is they've added those omega springs, which people always complained to Benchmade about breaking. And this became a whole thing. Like Benchmade was just unwilling to send out omega springs, which seems like complete and utter nonsense. But nonetheless, there we go. They wouldn't do it. Um, and if you broke one, you have to send it to Benchmade, and they'd send it out anyway. And it became a whole thing. Lots of complaints about that. For anyway, Kaiser just went ahead and added and threw some omega springs in with the knife, so there was never going to be that issue. If one ever breaks, you've got another one right there ready to drop into its place. All right. So both of these are going to be on bearings, and I mean these are two of the nicest actions I have felt. Just so enjoyable. Really, the only difference between these two is, notice I can Spidey flick the 80-20.5. Well, the Kaiser I can't, because when it's closed, there's not even close to enough room to get my finger in there. That said, it flicks out very enjoyably with the thumb stud with a thumb flick. I can Spidey flick it, again, using that thumb stud. Or, of course, you can just actuate the lock and deploy the knife. So what we have here are two really, really enjoyable actions. Out of all the knives, I've got a bunch of knives here sitting around. In fact, here's my Crooked River. It's okay, but it is not as good as the Kaiser. Okay, so really, really nicely done on both of these. And you can wander around your house fidgeting with these knives for hours on end, and it just is so, so enjoyable. There are a couple other points I want to raise here that may affect your buying choice. Okay, if you just want the Shark Lock and you have never experienced one, you want something from Andrew Demko, of course go with the 20.5. However, the blade steel is going to be considerably better on the Kaiser. This is 20 CV. The grind and finish is also better on the Kaiser by a fairly significant margin. We've got this saber grind, which is nice and thin behind the edge, very clean, very even, and from factory comes really, really sharp. Over here with the 80-20.5, we have OS 10A steel, which is fine, but not going to perform like 20 CV. It's quite a bit thicker. I guess not quite a bit. It is a bit thicker, a little bit probably more robust. Okay, but the other thing is the grind is not nearly as clean. All right, it varies a little bit in thickness. It varies from side to side. All right, I don't really care about that, but if you're one of these people with really high attention to detail, that might be a huge deal breaker for you. And I know I've heard a lot of people complain about cold steel and some other knives with uneven grinds, okay, with uneven secondary bevels, to be more precise. Okay, an uneven grind that would be an issue for everyone. I think, imagine if this side of the knife didn't match this side of the knife. That sucks, no matter what you are, what you're doing, or who you are. Anyway, back to our discussion. I also have to say the Kaiser has these very clean, minimal looks that are just striking. This has got to be one of the most perfect knives of the last few years. This is really, really well done. Again, what is the 20 point? That's not to say that I'm just highly favoring the Kaiser. I still like the 20.5. It's still a cool knife. I still appreciate Andrew Demko for doing it. But this Escort is one of my favorite knives that has probably come out in the last, out of the last 3 to 5 years. This may be the best thing that I have seen. It's really, really nice. So That's going to be my pick, even though both are great, both are enjoyable. If I'm going for a run or something, I'm probably going to take the 80/20.5. Just it's a little thinner, a little smaller. Although I do have other lightweight options that I might take instead. But the Kaiser is just a great all around, very clean, very well done EDC knife. Um, and I guess that's true of both of these. Just the fit and finish and materials and design are just a little touch above with the Kaiser here. So thanks a lot for watching, guys. Let me know what you think down in the comments below. Don't forget to use that discount code. Don't forget to check out those channel sponsors. That is a huge, huge help to me. Allows me to do more content, and also you guys usually get to save some money as well. Thanks a lot. We'll talk to you soon.